Welcome to Sweet Talk. This broadcast is brought to you by the Continuing Education Workforce Training Division of Idaho State University's College of Technology. This podcast is part of our continuing outreach efforts, and the format is conversational. We will be having conversations with businesses, professionals, entrepreneurs, community agencies, and, in all cases, difference makers. Now, let's get started with Sweet Talk.
Welcome to Sweet Talk. This is the end of the year wrap up for our podcast. Jason, who are you?
I'm Jason Batalden, the Assistant Director here at Continuing Education Workforce Training.
Great.
And this feels kind of familiar, Gary.
Yes, it does.
We started this way once.
And now we're ending a year, a little bit over half a year worth of podcasts. I'm Gary Salazar, Director of Continuing Ed and Workforce Training. This podcast idea is part of our outreach effort to our community. And this is Jason's idea. And we started this thing kind of without any experience or real good idea where it was going, but we had a nugget, and we've had a lot of fun with it. It's turned into what I think is just a marvelous kind of a thing to do. We've gained audience. This thing has grown in terms of followership, and what we wanted to do today is kind of just talk about it, what's happened, what we liked, and let you share a little bit of that. So, let's start with you, Jason. I mean, this thing, we started in May.
And May 1st was our first episode that we posted.
And that was you and me talking.
We titled that, Why Are We Doing This? Or We Are Doing This.
I don't remember what you said.
Now we're asking, why are we doing this?
I'm still not sure, but we're having a lot of fun doing it,
Right. So we started in May is when we set the first episode out on May 1st. And
how many have we had?
We will have totally posted. Let me just check. See, I got official now. We got notes and everything. When this episode airs, this will be our 32nd episode.
This is our Christmas episode.
Special. Oh, so we probably should say Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Hopefully everybody had a great Christmas, because this will be posted the day after. So.
The day after Christmas, this hits the waves.
Yeah, right.
Awesome.
It's our Christmas special.
So when this hits out there after Christmas, all of you need to tune in and share it out even further, because we'd love to continue growing this, inviting more interesting people to talk to and talk with. We had our first one, and I'll tell you, I was not real certain where this would go, so I'm surprised. I'm frankly very honestly surprised. I'm really excited and pleased, because literally it's been a blast for us. I can't say how much of effect we've had on the community, but we've certainly had an impact in talking to some very interesting people and some organizations. I guess I'd almost even,
I remember when we first started talking about podcast, the idea, and I remember it kind of fell to the floor like a lead weight the first time we brought it up. And frankly, Gary, I don't think we knew what we were doing either.
Do we know
Do we
now?
still?
No,
No.
we don't. We didn't know what we were doing. We just had a general idea. And, the point is, this is what for me, the podcast, I think I have been impacted more by the podcast than I think I would say that the community has, right? Our guests, the guests we've had on the show, the stories we've talked about.
Some
the things
fabulous guests.
Yeah, and they're all local. They're all from here. They're all engaging in life in some way and somehow. And so for me, I have truly enjoyed our podcast simply for the opportunity to sit down and talk with or listen to someone who just has great stories.
I agree. Truly a self-learning opportunity. And our very first one was not the usual way we've gone, too. It was Dr. Allsweed, who was the keynote speaker for the Emergency Medicine Conference. And we did that, through the internet. He wasn't here live. So we're trying to figure out how to do that. I mean, what a way to jump into this thing. Really not sure, just kind of trying new things. And that came off great.
It really did. And that was a great... by the way, just what a great speaker for the Emergency Medicine Conference. It was titled Mass Casualty Heroes and Heroines, Lessons from Las Vegas.
Right.
He was the emergency room physician in that Las Vegas shooting. And so that was, we go right from, hey, we're doing this, to this incredibly, this is amazing stuff were learning, and it was very cool.
It was very cool. And there was a side benefit of doing that with him. We kind of tried to set him up as somebody who could help us promote that emergency medicine conference. And when the conference got here, he was a keynote speaker, but he got the most positive feedback. Certainly a very traumatic event to have to talk about, but what a learning presentation that provided to everybody. And we hope that we set that up with some of this promotion by doing a podcast in advance. That was pretty cool.
Right. And by the way, out of our 30 some episodes, he's top 4. He's in our top 4 views.
He's in the top 4
list.
reviews.
It's a very popular episode, and a lot of people seem to have been enjoying him. So
I think people are fascinated by the subject.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, first of all, a great title. I mean, in the sense of really to let you know what he's there to talk about. People want to know that experience. So.
Yeah. So we had a really good first episode coming in after ours. Ours had to be the best. I'm gonna take a little self credit for that because we didn't know what we were doing, but we had a blast. And then we led into this thing, and then they just seemed to cascade on us. We had really great guests here. How did we find all these people? I mean, there were a number of ways they came into us, right?
Really, we talked in our office and we just asked for names for interesting people. We created a spreadsheet, and just said if somebody
There's a spreadsheet.
It's a name with a phone number and an email address. Why Scott sent us some, Ray Lynn sent us some, Paul sent us some. We asked instructors who are teaching classes for us, any events that we have had going on. J.R. Farnsworth, the firefighter chief for the new fire district.
North Bannock District Fire District, exactly right.
He came on through the J.R. Farnsworth, the different things we've done, construction combine. We ran into Rick Cheatham.
And he gave a great talk. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, and here's the crazy thing, by the way, that when I email or call someone and say, hey, are you interested in being on a podcast? Nobody's told me no.
No, that's right. Everybody wants to do a podcast.
Wants to be on a podcast. And then I tell them, well, we only got 6 listeners. And they don't care. They still come on. So
we have more than 6 listeners.
We have more than 6 now.
30 on SoundCloud.
We'll get to those stats now. But no, we are way more than 6 listeners.
Right.
But that's the amazing thing is that we find these. I was just looking, Stephanie Pelagi was our 3rd guest on the show.
She's the executive director of Historic Old Town. She had some great comments. And that brings in a lot of local flavor. What's going on down in Old Town? Where are they going with the direction? What are they trying to do? I mean, we did talk about doing entrepreneurs, but we kind of started spreading it out. And it's neat to me how broadly this has gone because every one of these has been an exciting thing to learn. And some of them we kind of folded into things related to CEWT, with a class that we saw coming up or something related to a health class, the mental health aspect, because we're trying to do more classes with that. We got some great participants with that. We got other people to do the hosting. You hosted some.
Right.
Ray Lynn, our health occupations health programs coordinator, she got 1 or 2, I think.
Actually, she had one of our more popular episodes with Chad Bannister. He was one of our speakers at the mental health fair that we had. And that was a great, that was a really good, there's some heavy stuff in there about just the effects of exercise and on just mental health. She's done that. Scott has done a couple for us.
Paul did one. That's with Matt. We did with Matt, right?
One is a lonely number.
Oh, but that was a great one. That was on apprenticeships, and you had Matt, one of your top students, come in and talk, and that was fantastic. It just broadened everything on out. You did one with a rabbi.
Yeah.
Which I was sorry I couldn't be here to do that one. I thought you were the best guy to do that, but that was awesome. You guys had a lot of fun.
Yeah, Rabbi Devin was one of my favorite podcasts. And remember I talked to you earlier about how, these podcasts, I get more out of them sometimes than I think they listen. That was one of my favorites. It was the podcast, that was a conversation that I had with him that I felt could have gone for way more than 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I mean, literally, I remember the timer going off, telling us that the podcast is over, and I was seriously disappointed. I was like, this is the worst format. Whose idea was it to come up with a 20-minute?
It's your idea.
Yes, I know. It was my idea. It was Paul's idea. No, it was. I'll take the blame. Paul.
I have to say, more times than not, when that 20-minute timer goes off, I'm like, no.
Yeah, I know.
No.
Well, and so I look at Devin's. That was one of my favorite conversations. And I love all our podcast guests, but I do have to admit, my favorite podcast guest was Danelle. Danelle Bronco.
We gotta have her back.
We will. She was fantastic. And I'm just plugging her. If you get a chance to see or listen to her episode, She Explored. It's episode 20.
It's where she traveled through the wilderness.
Yes. She did the naked afraid, but without the naked part.
But she wasn't afraid.
That's like being a closet vegetarian, isn't it? Nothing against vegetarians, everybody.
So anyway, Danelle was my favorite. She's so animated. She took over. Took over just her personality with this just great story.
Yeah.
So she was my favorite, but so Danelle and Devin both were
good, very good for us
because they made the difference. I mean, to me, I just thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great podcasts. Those are worth going back to and listening to again. We did some things with some of our students. We had Dara was here. We had Jennifer. Alma was on. And
Alma helped us during African Night.
Yeah, some of this bleeds into other things too. And then we went into African Night, and you guys live streamed it. So a lot of the technology things that we're doing as part of our outreach, they seem to go out further, and maybe spurred by some of this, but that is all awesome. And I remember seeing her during Africa Night, and she was a little bit shy at first. She was doing the hosting and moderating, but at the end, man, this is old hat to her. And then Nepalese Night, that was another great one that kind of took off. These podcasts, they go in so many unintentional directions, but I think really informative and beneficial. So again, a great thing. I don't know if I had a favorite one. I liked so much of them.
I had a favorite one you did.
Which one was that?
I thought your conversation with Drew Aslett.
Oh, Drew. Rock and roll, man.
You guys connected.
That was good.
That was a very, very cool.
Well, I think he had some of the same haunting grounds that I did over in California.
Yeah, you guys were kind of sharing.
Oh, man, that was cool.
Yeah.
And he has a real positive list of people watching his podcast, right?
Oh, yeah. His, we host our podcasts also on YouTube. And his podcast on YouTube is extremely popular.
Yeah. Drew Aslett, musician, Snake Bones, another good community member out here. And he has a band that he practices with, I think, every week, and it does it over at his house. And he invited us to come on down and do some of that, but I thought that might have been a little bit loud. But we got to get there one day and go do this again.
Go do it down in his studio.
Yeah, that's great.
That would be kind of cool.
Actually watching him perform live.
You did?
No, we should watch him perform live.
That'd be great.
One of my favorites was the gentleman, Robert Wallace.
Robert Wallace with the bikes.
The gentleman who made bikes for the community.
Oh, yeah,
That guy nearly brought me to
Big
tears.
Brother Low Riding.
Yeah.
He was a hometown hero.
Yeah. Also, I kind of misjudged him based on his looks when he came in. And then I was totally transformed by what his story that he had to say.
He had a great story. And you're right, he was a hometown hero. We saw him up there at that as well. What a cool thing for him to get that recognition. Not that we started that was in work beforehand, but it was nice that we were a small part of that before that took place. Yeah.
Very inspiring story.
Very, very inspiring.
I don't know. When he left, I just felt like there would be something we could do for him, somehow, some way help him in what he was doing. I just was truly motivated. Here's this guy making a significant difference in his community. What have I done lately?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Oh, come on now.
No, I'm serious.
I haven't even bought anyone a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Oh, you shouldn't admit that, Paul. That's horrible. That's horrible. It's Christmas.
I know.
All right.
That's another great podcast to go back and take a look at it because there's contact information on, and so we do. That's what we do with all these podcasts. We try to put some contact information in them for anybody who's watching it. If you want to, get back and say I'm interested in learning more, please do reach out to them and introduce yourselves and see what you can explore or learn. All of these guys have been great. We've had a couple of. Sorry,
You missed a student. I just saw.
Who? Which one?
Kylie Martin.
Kylie Martin, Miss Teen Idaho.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Miss, another great person to have on here.
She's kind of inspiring as well.
Very, very inspiring.
Very, very, very bright. And when we did the pictures later on, she was so on.
Yeah. Yeah. She did a
You
great
need to
job.
come do that in front of the camera, man.
Well, yeah. So,
Yeah, she-
hey, we got our audience here. You guys have been here through the show.
Yeah.
What was some of your favorites?
I thought Stephanie Pelagi was really awesome.
You
Just
did like
hearing
her, huh?
about like Old Town. It's really awesome what Old Town's doing to try to revitalize that community.
Yeah.
And also, you mentioned Chad Bannister, but just Chad Bannister was so fascinating.
Yes. Great information.
I
Well-
think Rabbi Devin.
You like
was-
Rabbi
yeah,
Devin?
Oh, that
definitely.
just was
like it
riveting.
was, yeah. Our eyes are just like listening.
That was good.
Yeah.
Prasad's only been around for a couple of them. Is any that you out of the couple that you've seen?
Yeah, like the one Robert. What's his full last name? I don't know about like the guy with the bike.
Yeah,
Like,
Robert
yeah,
Wallace.
Robert Wallace.
Robert
It's,
Wallace, yeah.
Steve hasn't really seen that many of them, but
Yeah.
Brenna, did you have favorite?
Stephanie you talked to.
Stephanie Taylor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she just posted here. Yes.
Yeah, she was really,
I
really
know.
inspiring. Her story is amazing.
So where do we get these? I mean, this is
That's cool. man.
look. We haven't done this really intentional, right?
No.
Because the bottom line is we're desperate for guests.
Well, we started out desperate, but now you've got a bunch of them lined up
We do.
already.
We do. And the point is, though, every time they come, they've got great stories. Rick Cheatham's story about his start in Kansas.
Yeah, the marketing guy.
And Carson. I mean, all how he got here, and all of a sudden now he's city council, and really enjoyed his story. I just, we're all great.
They're all great. They're all great.
stories.
One of the best ones, and especially the one that the audience participated in. You all remember this? It's Lauren Alward, because she brought the food. That's the first one we had to bring in the. We all get to
gluten-free.
try gluten-free food and see different things. Yeah,
Oh.
great stuff.
Episode was waiting till the end, so we got to eat it.
Right.
And we did talk about having her back, and we're
We
she's
need to
done.
have her back.
Yeah, we will. And we're lining her up for one of our classes
Right.
that we'll be doing in the spring. So, that's one of the multiple benefits. We get a little side benefit from that, some recognition of what we're doing here, but also we're helping other people out, as they want to grow into their business. And in this case, teaching a class for us. That's awesome too. There was one guy I think we need to talk about, and that led to some other things here. Josh Sorensen.
Yeah.
oh, yeah,
Josh
I remember.
is the field director for Congressman Mike Simpson. Okay, and we had him on talking about stuff. I don't know what a field director for a congressional guy is, but I've learned more and more that they are busy. They are out in the field a lot, talking to people, listening. And it was so nice to have him, be on board here and say something about what he does. But maybe one of the things that fell out of that, because we talked about the construction combine, was later on, earlier in November, we were honored, the suite was honored, the construction combine was entered into that congressional record. And one thing leads to another, but it all kind of built on the things that we're doing here. And that was a real nice honor. And so I can look back and go, I'm glad we had Josh here. And I'm glad that somehow translated into something neat for our community. There was some reference to that again in the newspaper here recently about the combine and what's going on. And speaking of the combine, I just got to say this, in the future, some episodes we're going to have will be Scott Stevens,
Right.
who is our face of the construction combine. And he's going to do some hosting to some of these podcasts as well. So that's another neat way to reach out. We're probably getting near the end of those things. So maybe let's talk a little bit about where we're going with this. What's your question?
Just one question. What is our number one podcast?
Well, it
Ooh.
depends on what site. So our number one podcast on our website is hit the wrong
You
button.
don't have any podcasts matching.
Oh, I hate Siri. You're a loser. Siri. I literally hate you. Oh, okay. So just for the numbers, our number one podcast on our website is Looking for Bats in All the Right Places.
That was
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
That was a phenomenal one. Our number one podcast on SoundCloud is Angie Lyons.
Oh, we're at the end, man. Go ahead and finish it up.
And then our number one podcast on YouTube is Drew Aslet's.
Truce.
And by the way, Drew Aslet's blows everyone's out of the water with number of views. So
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
So real quick, where are we going in the future?
Yeah. What do you think we're going in the future? We're going to have more podcasts, definitely.
We're going to start season 2 in January.
In January is when we're starting. We got 4 or 5 people already lined up.
We
Do you remember who the first one is? Do you remember that one? Who we have coming in? And we just got some other potentials that we need to contact yet. So it would seem like January might be filled, maybe 1 or 2 spots left, but that's filling up quickly, and then we'll take it from there.
Right.
Who do you have?
I haven't picked which one's going
Okay.
in January. So
So
we have a couple. We're just trying to get it organized to who goes next.
All right.
So we have the construction combines. We'll have the emergency medicine conference coming up.
oh yeah,
Time. And then we're just knocking out more and more guests as we go. So
yeah. The future of this it's wide open, but I see a lot more collaboration for us with our community, with our university. Trying to bring a lot of resources into this to make it even better. So that's where it's going. I think we got to close this thing.
Okay.
You ready?
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Again, last thing is Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Right on. Thank you very much.